Hey, it's Mike with Mike's Tutorials here with a quick little video on how to handle backups. This video might be a little bit longer than some of my other ones, but I just definitely want to make sure that everyone is backing up their Mac. I've worked with too many people where they've lost really important data, and the Mac has some great backup options built into it. So before I kind of dive into them, as a general, just a best practice or a backup strategy, I tend to work under the guidelines of making sure I have my data backed up or living in 3 places, and that could be on your computer, and then backed up twice, at least twice. One of those backups can be local, so like in your house or office, and then you want to make sure you have at least one of your backups in another location. So 2 locations for your backup. Have your data 3 times, and then there's different ways to go about doing that. So let's go over some of the options you have for backup. To me, the simplest way to do a backup, and everyone generally should be at least doing this backup, is to do Time Machine. Time Machine is built into the Mac. It's available in System Preferences. It does require a external hard drive, or you could purchase if you have a laptop especially, you could consider getting a time capsule from Apple. It allows you to do backups it's a network drive essentially. It can also act as a wireless router. And I'll put a link to that in the description. And it'll go to Amazon, and any links, if you purchase one through that, I'll get a small commission. But so if you have an iMac, or if you want to keep the cost low, I'd say get a USB hard drive. How big you should get? Generally, I say get one that's twice as big as the drive that you have. The larger the hard drive that you have, the more of a history you can maintain. Time Machine, the primary purpose of it is that it keeps a copy of all of your data as it is right now. But secondarily, if you delete a file or have an old version of a file, you can restore those, and the history that is maintained, how far back you can go, depends on how much free space you have for the drive. So to set up Time Machine, it's pretty straightforward. If you plug a new hard drive into your computer and it's never been used before, and you don't have Time Machine enabled, you should get a message that pops up that says, do you want to use Time Machine? And you can say yes, and it will format the drive if needed and get it ready to go. If you want to learn more about Time Machine, or if you want to use Time Capsule, you can click on Time Machine here. I'm not going to fully go over how to set up a time capsule. They're pretty straightforward. It's pretty similar. But if you want that, let me know in the comments. But you would go to Time Machine, and you can see I have backup automatically checked here. So you want that to happen. So Time Machine, what it does is it will, every single hour, it will back up any changed files. And then it will every day save a daily backup. And then it'll keep that for the past month. And then beyond that, it'll have weekly backups for as long as your computer, or as long as the drive has space. And then when you run out of space, older backups get deleted. Every time it does a backup, it doesn't back up every single file. It only backs up changed files. So the first backup can sometimes take a little while, but then after that, they go much quicker. So through Time Machine, you can add a disk. You can, and like what I have going on here, I have 2 Time Machine destinations. So I'm backing up to 2 different network drives. I have a Synology, which is a network attached storage device that offers a Time Machine server. And then I also have a Mac Mini server that has a hard drive attached to it. So I'm actually doing Time Machine twice. Now, why am I doing that? I think one is sufficient. 2 is nice because it will rotate between the 2 drives, and if one of those hard drives or systems were to fail, I'd have a backup to go back to. So it just helps me preserve that history of mine. Um, so if and if you do have like different hard drives that you're getting and need to do some maintenance, that makes sense. Like if you're getting a message about not being backed up for a while, but you might want to just come visit here, take a look and see what drives have been set to back up to, and maybe remove ones that don't need to be backed up anymore. You can also encrypt backups. So when you add a disk, if you encrypt it, I would tend to recommend doing that. It just means that the data can't be read by anyone else, and they'll ask you to choose a password basically to encrypt it. So that's Time Machine more or less, and the other. So that's only doing local backups. And the other thing to do, I think, in terms of backups is to have a copy of all your data that's offsite. And while Apple has backups available for iCloud or available for iPhones and iPads via iCloud, I mean to say, you can do a backup of an iPad or an iPhone to iCloud. I think that makes a lot of sense, and it's a great way to do that. But Apple does not offer that for Macs. You do need to use a third-party service to completely back up all of the data on your Mac. Apple, some people say, oh, well, there's iCloud, and yeah, with iCloud you can back up a lot of your info. It's more of a syncing service. I don't think of it as backup so much, but you can store your photos, contacts, calendars, Safari bookmarks, notes, what else? Well, the contents of your desktop and documents folders, of course. All of those can be stored in iCloud, and if you got a new computer, you could download them, but it doesn't store everything. Like it doesn't store like your iTunes library. Yes, you could use iTunes Match, but that's not really a backup. It doesn't store everything that's in the pictures folder, the movies folder. So there's a little bit of versioning, but not a ton. I still think that using a third-party backup service makes a lot of sense, and they're low cost. And I think to me, the one that makes the most sense to get is BackBlaze. There's a variety of options that are out there, but BackBlaze is $5 a month per computer for unlimited storage, and you can get a free 15-day trial. If you go to the link in the description, I'll get a small commission if you sign up for this. I've helped a bunch of people with this, so there's personal backup here. You can try it for free. It's $5 a month. It gets installed as a system preference, and it just anytime it's that your computer's online, it backs up offsite. It backs up to their servers, and they've been around for a really long time. And I think it makes a lot of sense to sign up for something like this. The last option that I'll just mention, which I think is not necessary for most people, but if you really can't afford to have your computer go down for any amount of time, based off like hard drive issues, you might want to also consider having a bootable backup or a clone of all of your data. Time Machine is great, BackBlaze is great, but if your hard drive fails, you're looking at a while to restore your data. With Time Machine, you can't boot off of it and keep working. You have to get your hard drive replaced on your computer and then restore it. Same with the cloud. You have to get a new hard drive and then download everything. So, for some people, they can't really afford to be without their computer for a number of hours to let that happen. So that's where a bootable backup can be helpful. There's two products that I'll mention. There's Carbon Copy Cloner, which is the one that I tend to use. So Carbon Copy Cloner can make a bootable backup. It basically just it can do some versioning, but I like to think of it as it makes an exact clone of your data And if you plug in that hard drive into your computer, you could boot off of it and continue to work. And then, so if you're on a tight deadline and you can't afford any downtime, having a bootable clone can be really, really helpful. Carbon copy clone is free for 30 days, and I think it's about $30 or $40. SuperDuper, which is made by ShortPocket, is another one that I've used before. It's free to use, but if you pay the $28, then you get the smart update, which means that it doesn't copy your entire system every single time. It only copies the files that have changed, which Carbon Copy Cloner does as well. Carbon Copy Cloner to me has it's like more power user-y. SuperDuper is a little bit simpler. Carbon Copy Cloner does recreate the recovery partition, which is a little geeky, but I never found that SuperDuper did that, so I end up using Carbon Copy Cloner. Carbon Copy Cloner can create a bootable backup over the network too, which is kind of cool. So anyways, I think for most people, stick with Time Machine and use a service like BackBlaze. And then if you want to go to the next level, do a bootable backup of your drive. If you have any questions about that, leave them in the comments. And I hope this helps you out. I definitely want to make sure every single person has a recent backup of your data. All right, thanks. Take care. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to my channel. All right, take care. Bye-bye.